Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. We're so excited to have you join us today. If you're new to the Data Connectors community, we're really excited to have you at a community LinkedIn Live briefing. This gives you a little preview of some of the amazing things you'll see at our virtual summits and conferences, and today's no exception. If you've been a longtime member of the community, welcome back. We're delighted to have you here as well. Sessions like this enable us to bring the community together and some of our most interesting experts. It's just a sample of the interviews, panels, roundtables, discussions, and briefings that you will find at our award-winning summits and conferences. We're looking forward to the fall season, and that's going to start with the Philadelphia Virtual Cybersecurity Summit on September 16th. If you haven't yet registered, we'd love to have it. We'd love to have you there. Please use the link that's going to appear now in the chat. Use that Zoom chat to ask any sort of questions for our keynote, who you'll talk with today a little bit more in this sort of fireside chat sort of discussion. So the summit coming up this month will focus on the Mid-Atlantic region and will also feature amazing CISOs from the area in a roundtable discussion where you can ask questions and get your questions answered and get a little bit of a behind closed doors insight into what fellow organizations are doing. Now, on to today's chat. The Secret Service certainly knows a thing or two about protecting people. You may not know that they also know a lot about protecting data. We're going to hear a little bit more from Assistant Special Agent in Charge Hazel Sarah from the United States Secret Service Philadelphia Field Office. Between protecting the president and protecting the crown jewels like you have to do in your organization, there's an amazing number of similarities. We'll get into that a little bit more in just a few minutes. Now, again, ask your questions at any time. Don't forget, we're going to preview some of what you'll hear at the summit that's coming up on September 16th, and you'll want to go ahead and register. You do need to register in advance to be there. I'm delighted to introduce one of my favorite Secret Service agents I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. Her name is Assistant Special Agent in Charge Hazel Sarah. She's from the Philadelphia Field Office of the United States Secret Service. She has a very interesting career. She's going to give you a little bit of a background. Welcome to the broadcast.
Oh, thank you, Michael. Thank you for having me here. It's always a pleasure to speak to Data Connectors audience. You guys are great. So I really do enjoy being here and being able to speak to you all and sharing some knowledge with you. I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. I've been an agent for about 21 years now. I have been in different offices, and for my protection time, every agent has to do a stint on a protection detail. And for me, I was on former President Clinton's detail. And I supported all the trips he made all over the world, basically in pursuit of his Clinton Foundation. So I've been through the poorest countries in the world and also some of the richest. So I've gotten to see both. And it's been quite a ride. Now I'm here in Philadelphia, and I am responsible for the general crimes, which basically are fraud, financial fraud, criminal investigators. So it's been great.
Tell us a little bit more about what it means to be an Assistant Special Agent in Charge.
Well, that's really one of the leadership positions that we have here in the Secret Service. And in my particular office, in the field office, it means that I am responsible for the criminal investigators that investigate anywhere from financial fraud, counterfeit currency, and also cybercrime. So we get a little bit of everything, but most of it is just working alongside with the agents and giving them the support and the guidance that they need to get the mission done.
Okay, so if you were a company, you're like the vice president. You're the second in charge over there.
Not the second in charge. We do have different layers of leadership here. So I'm like the first line manager, so to speak.
Okay. You've had an interesting career, and I know it's not what you're going to talk about in the summit this month, but tell us a little bit more about Eagle, Evergreen, and Energy.
Okay, so those are their code names that we use when we're talking about them during any type of movements or anything in their schedule. But Eagle is former President Clinton, the president that I spent most of my time on with my protection stint. And I mean, it was a great experience and also the worst. And really, I say that because when you are on a protection assignment, you are basically at their mercy. Whatever they decide to do, you do. If they decide that they wanted to go out and play golf that afternoon or in another country, you pack your bags and you go. So it was definitely very challenging to be on an assignment like that, where since he's no longer the president, he doesn't have the formal schedule that regular president does. So he can just wake up in the morning and decide whatever he wants to do, and you are going there with him. So that was more of the challenges, especially when you have a family and other commitments. But at the same time, it was one of the most memorable experiences I've ever had. I've worked with so many amazing people and have experienced incredible things. I've been around the world, and it's just been a great experience.
That's so fantastic. It's really fascinating to hear. Our audience always loves to hear about some of their protection detail time. Now, you've spoken to us in the past about how you can equate presidential protection to cyber protection, right? Where the crown jewels shift from the protectee to your data. Can you give us kind of the gist of that? Go ahead.
Yeah, so the analogy that I'm making is really just because we're so different. I mean, we've been protecting presidents since 1901, and that's 120 years of protection. So we know a little something about that. And with that knowledge and all the things that we put into our protection methodology, I think that the cybersecurity industry can benefit from the experience that we have, because we've been doing a really good job. I mean, it's been over 120 years, and the only incident that we really had was with President Kennedy, which was very unfortunate. But the Secret Service really took a hard look at our security plans and what we were doing, and we made significant changes to that. So the cybersecurity industry is very similar in the sense that we're both protecting something valuable. In our case, the president; in your case, the crown jewels. We also have conflicting interests, because in our industry, we have the staff that wants the president to be everywhere. They want him to travel everywhere, to be in the crowd, and we don't want that. We want to keep the president in the White House all the time, and that's just not practical or realistic. But we have to make it work. So security, we have to be creative with the way that we implement our security plans. And then which is similar to your users, right? Like they need computers, but you don't want them downloading executables or doing certain things that they need to do maybe they need to do it for some business purpose. But there's that conflict of needing computers and work, and then the other part of it where you have to make sure that it's secure. So it's balance. And then lastly, we both have adversaries. I mean, we have so many people that want to harm the president, and it for just no reason at all, just because they just don't like him. For whatever reason it is, we have a lot of adversaries. So we're always trying to be proactive in the sense where we have threat intelligence, and we will go out and talk to people that have stated that they're going to harm the president. And similar to your environment, where you have adversaries that maybe they want to steal your data, maybe it's PII, or possibly your some money. They're financially motivated. So we're very, very similar. And because of that, I think that our experience can help your organization.
Yeah, it's incredible when you think about sort of the amazing storied history of the Secret Service, and the fact that you've had this dual mission all this time, where so much of that work is really investigation and understanding, and sort of understanding threats. In our case, we're trying to understand cyber threats. I imagine, actually, as you make that equate that, it would be great if cyber threat actors were to write in death threat notes to us. It would give us some clues and maybe a way to get started. But unfortunately, like a VIP protectee, the threats don't come in advance necessarily. You have to sort of anticipate them and do your own research.
Well, also, Michael, here, so maybe they're not writing death threats to you, but if a bad guy has created a domain name with your business name, and maybe they added a certain letter, maybe they added an S at the end.
Right, 2 V's for a W, yeah.
Right. That's similar to a death threat. It's very similar because that's the planning. That's the planning stages, and that's what you have to be aware of, and that's what you have to look for.
Wow, I never really thought about it that way. Now, you've talked about the Secret Service's zero fail mission and equated it to cybersecurity zero trust. Give us a little bit more about that.
So John Kindervag, he came up with this analogy of how the Secret Service is similar to how his zero trust model was worked, and it really makes a lot of sense because we don't trust anybody, even though we have layers and layers of security in place and there's a lot of redundancies. If we have guests that are coming into an area, we don't just assume that they're supposed to be there. We're going to check them. I want to check them again, check them twice, as many times as we need to. We're never going to just assume that just because they're there, it's okay. And that's with anything else, with other things that we do when we're executing our security plan. And that's what, you have to think about in the zero trust model is don't trust your network. A lot of businesses are looking at their systems in a sense that they're assuming there's a bad guy already in their system. And that's really how you have to start thinking about things. So that zero trust model is very similar to how we in the Secret Service follow our security plan.
I loved when you introduced this idea. And of course, we'll reference back the presentation keynote you gave last year that equated the Reagan assassination attempt to what you need to do to prepare yourself for a cyber threat incident. Can you talk a little bit more about what's new in your talk this month?
Sure. So I'm going to incorporate some of the data that was published from the IBM. It was the IBM Cost of Data Breach Report 2021. And they provided several recommendations for cybersecurity and to mitigate some of the risks. And I'm going to go over two of them. I'm going to highlight two of their recommendations, one of them being the zero trust model, and the second one being to stress test your incident response plan. I think that by now, the message has gotten out that you need one. At least I thought so, but then when you Google it, it said that 77% of businesses don't have one. So I think people still need to work on that. But for those of you that do have one, I think it's great. But I think that what we really need to do is having a plan that you practice so that when a stressful situation like a breach occurs, you know how you're going to respond because you've done this before. It's going to be a natural response. And that's what we believe in the Secret Service. We believe that the more you train something, it's going to become muscle memory and you're just going to do it instinctively. It's not a natural thing for a person to jump in front of a bullet to protect someone. And we train for that. And in my presentation, I'm going to demonstrate how training, the way that we train our agents, is exactly how they react. And that's what you need to work on in the industry. Cybersecurity professionals should be taking out that incident response plan and stress testing it on a regular basis. And I'm not talking once a year.
You talk about the reaction. I remember vividly from the first presentation you gave where we heard the radio communication, right, during the Reagan assassination attempt. And the chatter, or if you'd call it that, for the Secret Service agents was just so calm. Like, this was the most stressful situation imaginable for the agents on staff. And their radio communication was totally calm and back and forth.
Correct. And that's how it's always been. No one's losing their mind or freaking out in any kind of situation because we already know what we're going to do. We plan for the worst every single time. And I will have that same clip in my presentation coming up because I think it's very important to demonstrate that serene environment, how it's under control. I think that's the best way to say it. Everything is under control because we know what we need to do.
Kind of a practiced confidence.
Correct.
That's outstanding. So really exciting. What else can we look forward to hearing about in your keynote this month, Agent Sarah?
I'm going to talk about the importance of training, but I'm also going to tie it in with the data that we've received from the IBM Cost of Data Breach Report 2021. And I'm also going to include some practical advice on how you can protect your business the same way that we protect the president.
Outstanding. Really looking forward to the conversation. Tell us, outside the office, I understand that you coach a cyber Patriot team. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Oh, yes, I'd love to. This is really exciting for me because I love any opportunity where I can expose young adults to cybersecurity. And the Cyber Patriot competition runs every year. And this is going to be my 4th year coaching a team out of the Civil Air Patrol Squadron. And what's really great is that, aside from the exposure, some of these young adults end up pursuing careers in cybersecurity. So being able to give back and help and teach and educate these young kids, anywhere from K to 12, the principles of cybersecurity is really a passion of mine. And I think that everyone who's a cybersecurity professional should volunteer in some way to the community, because that really is the best way that we can protect our country, is by sharing our knowledge.
Outstanding. Well, you have an amazing amount of information to share, and we're looking forward to hearing more about it in the upcoming Philadelphia Virtual Cybersecurity Summit. So let me just give you a little bit of preview of what you could expect to see there. The virtual event environment is the best in the industry. Our environment gives you the ability to interact with virtual exhibitors in the virtual exhibit booths, download resources. There'll be a number of great research information there. Some of the industry analyst reports that are hard to find all over, you'll be able to find for free in the virtual event environment, as well as presentations from over 12 different subject matter experts talking about a range of topics all across cybersecurity, from endpoint protection to cloud to individual user protections and, of course, ransomware. We'll also have expert panel discussions that I'll moderate myself. So if you enjoyed some of the back and forth today, you'll get a lot more of that. And of course, our keynote, as we've said, from Agent Sarah. That's all coming up on September 16th. There is still time to register. It's free to attend for cybersecurity professionals. And of course, take the time to join the Data Connectors community, which means you'll get information on all of these upcoming summits and conferences. Conferences coming back soon. We'll be in the area. And we'll look forward to hearing a lot more from Agent Sarah and interacting a lot more with all of you on the 16th for the Philadelphia Virtual Cybersecurity Summit. Thank you so much. Thanks again, Agent Sarah, and we'll see you all in Philadelphia on the 16th.
See you there. Bye.